Yo, good day, gents, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name is Jody Cedric, and every week we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad. And I'm sorry I missed you guys last week. I actually had a guest planned, but some things came up in his family. He wasn't able to connect with us, and I didn't have something in the wings, which is unusual for me. So I apologize for missing you guys last week. It's always good to be with you guys. This weekend, Judy and I had a fantastic weekend. Went down to Utah, down to Orem for my daughter's teammate from volleyball, UVU volleyball team, Tori Dorius, and her fiance Chuck got married, and we had a great time. Went down, drove down on Friday night, and then spent the day on Saturday. Went and saw Kaylani's boyfriend's soccer game, which was a lot of fun. Watching at a collegiate level, got to sit with his family, and that was really cool. Right, we're getting to know an extended family because you can see my daughter's really sweet on this young man, and he's a really nice kid. And so we were sitting there with his parents and two of his uncles and their families, and I mean, we just had a fantastic day, and then spent the evening at the wedding dancing and celebrating that union. And so I want to take a moment, give them love, and wish them all the love and happiness and success in their marriage. I've been thinking a lot about the past couple of days, a post that my good friend Shawnee the Kid on TikTok posted. And the question was proposed to him by a lady that reached out to one of his comments. And she said, what do I do, after years of my marriage, and now all my husband does is see me being a naggy biatch, and she's like, how do I get him to move past that and get us back into a good space as a relationship? And I've thought a lot about that question. And number one, let me point out something very important. Because she's asking the question, she's still invested in the relationship. She's hoping that something will change in him and her and them that will unify them once again, like when they were first dating and building that relationship together. So if your wife or your significant other is asking the question, and maybe you feel like they're nagging or they're bugging, but at the core, if they're asking the question, it's because they're still hoping that something's going to change, that there's a brighter day, a brighter moment, a brighter season ahead for your relationship, and they're yearning for that. So be careful not to discount that, because once they stop asking the question, once they stop nagging in quotes, that's when they've checked out, and it's almost too late. So if they're asking the question, recognize that there is still time for you to save your relationship. So I thought that I would share a few things that if you're in that stage of your relationship, that might help you. And I think back to my conversation with Rigo Santana. I've actually had him on as a guest on the podcast twice. And he said, one of the things that really caught me in my relationship and that led to my divorce was straight up my ego. He goes, I could not let things go. I could not go, I'm the man, you're the woman, you do this. I'm right, you're wrong. I come home and you need to do these things. And he goes, my ego was getting in the way of seeing and hearing and feeling what she really needed in the relationship. And he recognized that his ego had a lot to do with the demise of his relationship. And so he's had to, and this brings me to my number one point, is he had to recognize where he is, where he was. and be honest with himself about what part of the relationship he did not fulfill his part of the relationship. And coming to that point where you can recognize and own your own mistakes, your own character flaws, and go, you know what? These are things that I know are causing strain and stress and tension in our relationship. How can I change those things in a positive direction that will make me a better man, make me a better husband, and ultimately facilitate having a better relationship? So, number one, recognize where you are and be truly authentic with yourself, and then owning the process to becoming who you want to be, going from where you are now to where you want to be, and recognize that it is a process. Which brings me to point number two. If you're in a strained relationship right now, it's because over time you have allowed it to become that way. You didn't just one day wake up and look at her and go, oh man, you're just a nagging little wench. You know, why are you always bugging me? Why can't you just be happy with the work that I'm doing? Why can't you just be happy that I'm true and loyal, right? And recognizing that there were little things along the way that both of you neglected has led you to the point where you are. Just like if you're overweight, you didn't one day gain 100 pounds. You gained it 1 pound at a time, one meal at a time, one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. And a lot of you guys have woken up in your relationship and go, wow, how come my relationship sucks? Who is this lady that I'm married to? Man, I don't like her and she doesn't like me. And how are we ever going to bridge this gap? So recognize that, all right, it took us a while to get here, and it's going to take you a while to build out of it. And some of that building out of it is going to require both of you to be forgiving, to be patient, to recognize that you're going to take 1 step forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, and then slide back 2. So it's a process, and you have to be willing to embrace the process of rebuilding your relationship. Number 3, the process of rebuilding your relationship requires you to become truly invested in the relationship. And some of that may require you to look at yourself and go, all right, who do I need to become? Who did she see before when things were good? Who was I? Who was I showing that I was? But then once we got in the relationship, maybe I didn't really live up to what I was talking about or what I professed or what I aspired to be. So you need to, one, get into a very purposeful intention of investing in yourself and going, all right, who do I need to become? But you also need to get into hot pursuit of the woman of your life. Because let's be honest, it's been a while since you took her out on a date. It's been probably even longer that you've written her a love note or given her flowers. And what I found, in fact, Judy and I were talking about this weekend, is like a lot of you men, you give gifts in attempt to bridge the gap when what they really need you to do is for you to give of yourself. Because the true gift in a relationship is you and your time, your interest, and your commitment and your dedication, and you're willing to serve and build towards that relationship. Now recognize that once you get into hot pursuit, she's probably going to be a little skeptical at first. Because maybe in the past you've said, oh, you know what, I'm going to be better. I'm going to do these things. And you've done them for a day or two or a week. And then you went right back to old you. And so she's going to be a little skeptical. So you're going to have to double down, improve every single day, even when she's doubting and going, oh, yeah, you know what, you're just doing it because, it's not going to really last. You're just saying that. You have to be willing to swallow your pride and take that verbal. You have to take the L on that and go, you know what? You're right. In the past, I wasn't, but I'm trying to show you every single day that I am that. And sometimes you don't need to say that you're doing it. You just show that you're doing it and let your actions be the loudest megaphone of who you are becoming. Another thing that you might want to do is, I think a lot of times we have slipped into the mindset of negativity about our significant other, and all we see are the negative things. We see her nagging. We see her, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You know what? The house wasn't cleaned up by the time I got home. Oh, you didn't do this, right? We have all these. We create this little list of ugly about our wife, and we don't even have to write it down. We're mentally checking it off every single day. I would invite you to flip the switch and you start taking note. And even if you can, get you a little journal and maybe get you some little notepads. And you write every single day 1 to 3 things that you're grateful for in your wife. Something that you appreciate, something that she did. Maybe it's a smile, maybe it's a little thing of her packing your lunch, or maybe it's just, rolling over and she's still there. I mean, you may be to that point, right? But I would invite you, in all seriousness, to start taking notes of the things that you're grateful for in her. What's beautiful in her? What's strong in her? What's confident in her? And when you start to consistently look for and note and write down and recognize, you will once again begin to see the beauty that you saw in her in the past. And you might even, from time to time, maybe once a week, just leave her a little post-it note on the kitchen or on her mirror. And you share one thing that you were grateful for that week. And just go, hey, sweetheart, I just want you to know that I appreciate X, Y, Z, whatever. That pick one thing once a week and you write a little note and share it with her and say, you know what, I really appreciate this. There's something magical that happens when you start showing and expressing gratitude for somebody else, because they start to see themselves in a different light. The other thing that you might want to do, and obviously this depends on your relationship, but when's the last time you came up from behind your wife and you just put your arms around her, put your arms around her waist, and just nuzzled up in her ear and said, it's good to see you. It's good to be home. I love you. And just kind of hold that embrace for just a sec. Give a gentle kiss on the ear and then walk away. No groping, no fondling, just a sincere, heartfelt, meaningful hug of love and appreciation. I'm telling you, that one little thing will do so much to reignite some feelings between each other. And you may be at a point where that touch is a little awkward and it's not comfortable. And it may take you a couple weeks or months of just going, hey, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for, and sharing those little things till you build back up to that point. It goes back to being willing to embrace the process of rebuilding. Just like at the beginning of your relationship, you invested in going on dates and calling her and texting her. And little by little, you won her trust. You won her love. And that's the same way when you're trying to regain that trust, except now you're fighting past hurts, past disappointments. So it's going to take double the effort, double the commitment, double the love. It's going to require you to truly become invested into your relationship so that you can pull your relationship that's been on the edge for so long and pull it into safe ground, fertile ground, where you can build and rebuild and recapture those feelings that you had once before. Guys, I know it's not always easy. Relationships are not easy. Sometimes you don't exactly see eye to eye. And my wife sometimes tells me, she's like, you know what? We're going to disagree on that. And I have to be willing to respect that and go, you know what? It's not that important. Some things are, but most of the things, let's be honest, most of the things that you're getting caught up on, they're not that important. And you're letting these little aggravations, these little itches that get under your skin that really are nothing. That if you would just go, you know what? My relationship, our relationship is more important than that little thing. I can let that go. And for you guys that are going through a divorce or have gone through a divorce and now you're trying to look to the future with hope, and there's going to be a lot of second guessing. There's going to be a lot of, man, what could I have done? Why didn't I do this? Why couldn't it be saved? And I think back to someone who's very close to me who went through a divorce, and the last couple of years before they got a divorce, it was kind of ugly. And both of them pulled me into it. I was in a lot of the conversations. And it was interesting because she could not see the changes that he had been making in his life. And thus they were never able to heal. But at the same time, I could understand her perspective, because for so many years, she had been hoping and begging and pleading and going to counseling and trying to get these things. And by the time he realized what he needed to do to save his marriage, it had been too late. And so now he has a beautiful new bride. They have a beautiful relationship. And he's become the man that he wanted to be. And sadly, the man that she was hoping for. And now somebody else gets to reap that benefit. And their relationship is beautiful. And I'm a firm believer that God has a way of putting that special lady in your life when you're ready for her. I think a lot of times we're so anxious to move forward that we want to jump steps. We want to leap forward to the good part. But with any true story of conquest, of triumph, we have to go through the ugly before we can obtain that triumphant situation. And even then, it becomes a whole new opportunity of growth and blending and becoming one with that new family, that new beautiful wife. And so don't give up hope. There is a brighter day. I've seen so many men who have rebuilt a marriage, and I've also seen men who've had, sadly, they've gone through divorces and then built a new marriage and a new relationship. And it's amazing to watch the beauty that can come out of the decay and the rot and the ugly. But we have to go through the valley before we are strong enough to climb the mountain ahead of us, so that we can see that beautiful vista, both for ourselves and either our current wife or somebody else that God has put in waiting just for you. Guys, I hope this gives you something to think about this week, something for you to look inward, to do some self-introspection, to really look at yourself authentically and go, you know what? This is something I need to own. And yeah, I haven't been the best of who I should be, but I'm going to become that man that I want to be, and thus be the blessing to somebody else because I started with me. Because really, any good, strong relationship starts with you. And as you become the man that you're aspiring to be, the other things fall into place. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't checked it out or you haven't heard about it, I did write a book about a year ago. It's called Learning to Dance with the Currents of Life When You Feel Like You're Drowning. It's out on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. I invite you to go check it out. Please go buy it and give me your feedback. I'd love to hear what touched your heart, what helped you move through your current stage of your life. And as always, man, I appreciate you guys being here. If there's something that you'd like me to talk about, please give me a shout, shoot me a DM, send me an email at fathersfire@gmail.com, and we will check you same time, same bad channel right here on Father's Fire. See ya!